Injury front, like I told you guys yesterday, Jack is dealing with an ankle injury. Denzel's dealing with a shoulder injury. We'll see how this goes throughout the week on both of those. I don't know definitively, but we'll monitor that throughout the week. Like I told you yesterday, proud of the guys, proud of going and down there and getting that win, fighting like crazy, competing like crazy. Some really good moments, some really good individual moments, and got to build off those, and also got to look at the things that we didn't do great and find ways to do them better next time. That's what we'll watch that tape together with the players. Already watched with a few of them just to make sure that we can continue to improve. And then excited about the challenge this week. We know what's at stake, and we're excited about it. But with that, we'll take any questions.
Thank you very much, Coach. The first one today will be from Tom Withers.
Thanks, Rob. Hey, Kevin, Happy New Year. Hey, specific to Deshaun yesterday, what was the big change in the second half? Obviously, guys got open, protection was better, all those kind of things. But what did you see from Deshaun specifically in the second half?
Yeah, as you know, Tom, it's never one thing, especially when you're talking about the run game, the pass game, whatever it is. You need precision. You need 11 guys on the same page. Obviously, we as coaches got to give the players concepts and things that they can do well. So at times, I'd say it was protection. At times, it was maybe a misread, maybe not running the route perfectly, maybe not a great play call. So it's always one of those things. And when we all kind of get on the same page and operate with precision, I think you see that we can be real dangerous through the air. And I thought that's what you saw in the second half.
As far as the defense, I guess you got to give a lot of credit to the Commanders for putting together a 21-play drive, but a couple of third downs there that you guys didn't get off the field. Was it just a case of not executing or whatever the case may be?
It wasn't a couple of third downs. That's the first problem. It was
5 of them.
Yeah, it was too many. And listen, our defense played really, really well yesterday. That one drive was really what we didn't do well. And I'll tell you what I was proud about was that was the last drive before the end of the half. Then they come out, get the ball. They have a chance to double dip, and we've seen that. And they didn't. They went 3 and out. We stopped the run on first and second down and had a great third down to get off the field. So, credit to them for that long drive. They made their plays. But all in all, I thought the defense just played really relentless to the football, rushed the passer well, good in coverage versus some very good wide receivers, tackled well, just guys running to the ball, I think, was the difference.
Thank you, Tom. Let's go to Mary Kay Cabot.
Yeah, Kevin, have you had a chance to watch Kenny Pickett's final drive last night? If so, I'm just wondering, what you thought about that, especially the last play. And can you speak to the intensity of what you're about to face on Sunday, especially with them having so much to play for?
Yeah, I did watch the tape on both sides this morning, Mary Kay. Talented player who we have to be ready to go against and get to know the young player, but can make plays off schedule, as you saw in that last drive, made some impressive throws throughout the day. So it's going to be a challenge, as it always is when it's Browns versus Steelers. We're excited about that.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mary Kay. Scott Petrick is next.
Hey, Kevin, along those lines, how much will keeping Pittsburgh out of the playoffs be part of the focus this week?
Yeah, it's not our focus, Scott. We understand those type of things, but this is a division game. It's a rivalry game. We have a ton of respect for that organization, for those coaches, those players. But we get to lace them up Sunday. Don't know what time yet, but we get to compete for 60 minutes, and we're excited about that.
In the second half, the protection seemed to be much better than the first half. Was that how much of that was schematic, and how much was it just the guys blocking better?
Yeah, it was a little bit of both, as you can imagine. I know we gave up 5 sacks. I'd say at least a couple of them we can avoid. And Deshaun's going to fight for those extra yards. He's very, very strong in the pocket. He got out of a few plays that were very impressive. So we understand that, with Deshaun a quarterback, these plays can go on for a long time. So we got to continue to work up front. We got to work as the receivers, tight ends, running backs, in the scramble drills and those type of things. But the guys fought like crazy. They protected, I thought, by and large, well versus a very, very good front.
Thanks, Scott. Fred Greetham, go ahead.
Hey, Coach, it just seemed, would you say that you feel like Deshaun, obviously had a breakout game to some degree in the second half, that he turned the corner And second of all, was it by design or what? But in the second half, he started using his legs more and running and had some really opened up the offense there, it seemed like.
Yeah, I just think he, like everybody, you just want to continue to progress. And I think that's what you're seeing with Deshaun. I thought obviously in that second half, he made a lot of plays, made plays that were designed, made plays off schedule, designed runs, had a really nice one there on second down up the middle and broke free to the outside. So you saw him making a lot of football plays. And then at the end of the day, obviously that's what you're looking for from your quarterback.
Thank you, Fred. Dale Ryder, you're next.
Yeah, Kevin, on that, with Deshaun, is there I don't want to say sense of relief, but just how would you describe the feeling, considering the commitment you guys made and all the attention that's paid to him, you got those two really good explosive quarters from him where his talent really finally shined through?
Yeah, kind of what we've said earlier, Daryl, as an offense, we just didn't play well enough in the first 30 minutes of that football game. And the reasons are, it's never one thing. So I think offensively, the guys were committed to staying in a rhythm, staying true to who we were, making plays, getting open, making the throws, all those things. Nick running hard that entire second, really first half, second half, the guys straining to finish. I think it was more about those guys committing to finish that football game.
And then I want to ask you about, because you've always been aggressive going forward on fourth down. That's just kind of part of your formula, I suppose, as a coach. So just when you decide to go forward on fourth and short, especially in the red zone, I'm not asking you to give any strategy away, but just like what kind of factors into that decision and like play selection process? Like, what do you think about as a coach in such a tight, compressed amount of time that you have to make that decision?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of that decision making you discuss during the week, really all those scenarios and where you want to be aggressive, where you're not going to be aggressive. And a lot of it comes down to what type of moment it is in the game, how your defense is playing, and then the play. Ultimately that play that down there in the red zone did not work, but we got to look long and hard and say, why didn't it work and what could we have done better? That's really where your focus goes. And I think our players, they want to play aggressive. They want on 4th and 1, you get it to stay on the field and stay in a big drive. There's been moments where you're able to stay on the field and turn them into points. And we understand the risk that is involved as well. We get it. But just ultimately trying to just make aggressive but smart decisions.
Thank you, Daryl. Jeff Chanel has our next one.
Hey, Kevin, I'm going to ask you about Cade York. He makes all 4 kicks yesterday. Has something happened since he missed a couple in that Baltimore game? Have you noticed anything different with Cade?
I haven't, Jeff, and I would tell you he is a young player that is very, very committed to working on his craft. He works really hard throughout the week, makes adjustments to anything technique-wise, very zoned in on improving his technique. And I think he's just a young player that's going to continue to get better. That's what it is with young players. Being consistent in your performance really comes back to being consistent with your technique. I think that's what he's doing. And, I should also mention I thought his kickoffs were excellent yesterday. He had really, really good hang time down to the goal line there that allowed our guys to cover.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. We'll go to Tony Grossi.
Okay. Kevin, in your opening statement, you said we know what's at stake. And then you later said it's a division game, chance to compete. But in your message to your team this week, what will you prioritize as what is exactly at stake besides trying to win your last game?
Yeah, and I guess when I say I know what's at stake, that they're fighting for the playoffs. That that's a lot of eyeballs are going to be glued to the TV watching this one. So that's what's the exciting part for us, to be in a meaningful game. We understand, that it's our last one, but we're excited about going against a division opponent. We know how tight these games have been. So that's the exciting part, to be able to compete for 60 minutes.
And of the 3 younger players that received a little more playing time yesterday for different circumstances, do you see that increasing in game 17?
Those are all things we will talk about throughout this week, Tony. And where appropriate, we'll get some young guys in there and where we feel like it makes sense.
Thank you, Tony. We'll close out with three more. Ashley Bastock, Mary Kay Cabot, Scott Petrick. Ashley, go ahead.
Hey, Kevin, along those lines, I wanted to ask about Jerome Ford and him getting more snaps yesterday, just the thought process and how you guys thought he did at the end of that.
Yeah, he's obviously helped us as a kick returner this season. I think you see his natural ability in those moments, and just felt like it was the right time to get him some carries. Obviously got some tough carries there in the 4-minute drive, but a young player that we feel like deserves a chance to see a little bit more from.
And then I know you talked a little bit about Grant after the game yesterday, but I mean, he just seems like he's continued to kind of quietly develop, especially in the last half of the season, these last 2 games, coming from the blown coverages earlier this season. Just how you guys have seen him progress this year.
Yeah, I think he's playing at a high level. Ashley, obviously getting his hands on those balls. The one in the end zone, that's a very difficult play. That's a high degree of difficulty to track that ball, get your feet down. He's tackling well. I think he's a ton of tackles just on the season. So you're right. He's playing well. And like young players, he's playing well with more opportunities. And I think that's really the nature of young rookies, second-year players. I know Grant's in his 3rd year, but these young guys, when they get more opportunities, they learn from them. I think their play improves throughout the season.
Thank you, Ashley. Mary Kay.
Yeah, I'm going to try to squeeze in 2 here real quick. The first one is knowing what you have in Deshaun, and then obviously knowing Lamar and Joe, and now seeing what Kenny can do. What does it say about the talent of quarterbacks that you have right here in the AFC North and the level of competition? So that was the first one. And then the second one is, we talked last week a little bit about, you guys doing everything that you possibly could to maybe try to get Nick the rushing title, but similarly, Miles is getting pretty close to the sack title. So, how cool would that be for you guys to help him get that?
Yeah, on the first part, we know this division, Mary Kay, is very, very talented. I mean, coaching, really good coaches, really good offensive players, defensive players, special teams. So it's a very talented division, and that's the nature of how it's been. These are tight games throughout. So that's kind of really where my mentality goes in looking at these teams, less so the quarterbacks. On all those type of things, and we've talked about it, any individual accolades, any individual statistics or whatever are great. And we want the guys to achieve those. And you ultimately achieve them with the help of your teammates. So anything that can come out of this last week in a positive light for any individual guy, I think ultimately will be a great reflection on the entire team.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mary Kay. We'll close with Scott.
Hey, Kevin, I was just curious. I think there were 30 runs and 18 passes, so 48 play calls. Do you remember ever having a game where there were that few, or many games that you've been involved with, there were that few play calls for you?
Just the number of offensive plays.
Volume,
Yeah, I not off the top of my head. I mean, we've been in some games where you don't get as many drives as you thought you would. Obviously, in that game, they possessed the ball as they do. We had a couple short drives and a couple long ones. But ultimately, you go into it typically thinking you're going to get about 65 plays is where you're typically thinking. Then you try to build your game plan appropriately. So you got a ton of stuff still left in the call sheet for the next week.
I mean, do you feel like then the added importance of each play call when you feel like the numbers that could be big, and especially after that end of the second quarter drive where all of a sudden, you got the ball for 4 plays in 1 quarter?
Yeah, I think so much of that speaks to just staying on the field and being good on first down helps you be good on second down, stay out of third down, or get into a manageable third down if you do land in third down. So I think big picture wise, you just distill it down to doing your job as small as your job may be on a given play. And that's what ultimately leads to success in those plays.